Hi everyone, my name is Alejandro Bernard and welcome to my beginner jazz piano course. This video is the first in a series designed to give you an overview of beginning jazz piano. By the end of this video, I'll have shown you 2 to 3 different things that you can take home and practice for the week. There is accompanying sheet music that you can find in the description, so make sure to save that, download that so you can use it to help you practice. At the end of this video is a segment for community questions. I've had a couple of people ask me particular questions and I'll be addressing those questions at the end of this video. And if you, while watching, have some questions, you can put them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them at the next video. So the plan is to do 14 videos. We're going to see where that takes us, but we're going to start with this one today. So thanks so much for watching. I'm going to stop talking and get right into the teaching. Here we go. So our warm-up is going to be the count bassy ending. Let me play it for you. It goes like this. 1, 2. Okay, and if you want, you can do an arpeggiation at the end to end the song. Okay, so let's talk about it. There are 3 parts to the bassy ending. There's the bassy ending. Right, there's some chord movement there. There's the stinger or the button to finish the song. And if you want, there's an arpeggiation. Okay. So let's talk first about the bassy ending itself. What's going on here? Well, I have 4 voices and I have 3 voices in my right hand, 1 voice in the left hand. And the outside voices stay constant or static, but the inside voices, they're moving up chromatically by half step. And even just, you can enjoy that harmony. Right? And even if you do like a warm-up like that, it's going to help you, your hands find that position. Right? So outside stay consistent, and then the inside voices move up by half step. Okay? And you can do it in this register of the piano, this is high C, or if you want to, you can do it up here. It sounds a little bit more like cuter up there, right? Okay, and then you come all the way down here and you end on your last chord. So this is a C6-9 chord. This is a very, very important tonic chord that we learn in jazz piano. And so the left hand is playing an open 5th, the root in the 5th, and the right hand plays the 3rd, the 6th, and the 9. So we have a C6-9. And it's just so final, it's so resolute, right? After you come here, right, you can end your song there. And just to make it nice, here's the arpeggio. All right, so all I'm doing is I'm taking this same hand grip, the one you see here, and then I'm just going up an octave, going up another octave, going up another octave, and then reaching over with my second finger to hit that high G. It's just a nice way to end the tune. And just for pianists out there, whenever you have to reach over and just hit a single note by itself, finger 2 or finger 3 are the ones that you're going to want to like hunt and peck with, okay? You don't want to reach over and use your thumb. That's just going to feel weird. So you can start here, just playing these. And then when you feel more comfortable, you can arpeggiate them. Arpeggio is, of course, the Italian word for a harp, and it does sound like you're, stroking a harp. Right? Okay, so here's the bassy ending completely one more time. So a 1, 2. This is kind of a rhythmic study here. That's just kind of big band jazz. We're starting real early, and it comes from the bassy ending. Because the bassy ending, starts with this chord. And this chord, if you take the A out of the bottom voice, your left hand, and you put it here, we call this closed position. And so closed position, all the notes are kind of tight to each other rather than open position. So we have a closed position here, and I'm going to bring it down an octave, okay? So right here, this is more in your trumpet register or your saxophone register. And I'm going to put some bass notes on the bottom. Now check this out. Let me just play it. So it goes. If you want, you can put the bassy ending on it. Right. I've got my this is in the way, so sometimes it clunks with my left hand. But so that's the rhythmic study here. So you have the sheet music which you can follow along, but let me break it down. So F6, F sharp diminished, C6 over G into C dominant. And you can just kind of repeat this you know, over and over again. Excuse me. And you might, if you're playing in a big band gig, you can do this, you know, people will dance to this for hours. And when you're ready to end, you can go there, okay? So, important thing that's going on here are these 4 voices in the right hand. As a jazz pianist, you want to get accustomed to playing 4 voices. This one is a little bit suspect. For more modern jazz, we really don't voice our dominant chords just 1, 3, 5, 7. We usually include some kind of color note, so this is really old big band. You're not going to see a lot of this in this course, but I'm making an exception here, okay? So, and the other thing, other than the 4 voices in the right hand, is that is this feeling of syncopation. So the left hand is your bass, and it's just very 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It's very consistent. You know, there shouldn't be too much syncopation going on there because it serves as an anchor for the right hand to be more syncopous or syncopated. I don't know. Syncopated is probably more the right word. And you can make up your own rhythms. You're ready, and then you can finish, right? So take your time, just like we did in the previous study. You know, you can just play the chords together, and then when you're ready, I have this written out rhythm. The rhythm looks like. Here go the second ending. All right, and you can finish there. Okay, so there's a little rhythmic study to do. Okay, and that might give you more of a challenge. And this tune is titled, Don't Get Around Much Anymore. Okay, it's just a great big band era kind of standard. It's a little bit early, but I think it just drives home those concepts of the swing feel and just kind of getting an introduction to jazz, right? And that's what we're here to do. So let me play it for you first, and then I'll break it down later. So here's my arrangement. It goes 3, 4, if you want to. That bassy ending comes back. It comes back a lot. So, and anyway, that just kind of drives home another point that, you know, as you're learning this, if you watch this and you're following along, you know, you just learned 2 to 3 things, a jazz piano. Like, you are a jazz pianist. You only know how to play 2 or 3 things, but you are a jazz pianist. You know, professional jazz pianists know how to play like 8 million things, right? But there's not really a time when you become a jazz pianist. You already are one. You just don't have many things to say. So this bassy ending, you know, it's a thing, and it gets used, particularly in big band gigs. So if you know how to do that, that's, you know, one jazz thing that you can do. So, so what's going on here? We have a melody, right? And I like to, you can either start with your 5th or your 4th finger in the right hand, and then the melody repeats, and then you can go a C5 finger grip. Don't get around much anymore. Right, and then you go from there. So what I want you to think about is that a lot of times when we're doing a jazz piano, people might play it like this. Right, where they'll play left hand chords and then they'll play right hand melody. And they have this texture, chord versus melody. Well, your left hand isn't limited to being that accompanimental texture, and your right hand isn't limited to being the melodic texture, right? Sometimes both hands can participate in being the accompanimental or the melodic texture. So, you know, what I did with this one is I played the right hand melody, and then you'll see above here, where is it? In above measure 1, you have these. Let me see if I can pull it up on my. Is this what I want to look at here? No, that's not what I want to look at. here is what I want to look at. Okay, so you can see my cursor here. Like here you have these X'd out chords, and these represents chordal hits. You know, rather than do that all with your left hand, you know, what you could do, you kind of do it with both hands together. And here's the voicings that I'm using. C major 7, D minor 7, D sharp minor 7, and E minor 7. And I want you to notice that I'm only using 3 notes. I'm using the root, the 7th, and the 3rd. Now, this chord can be expressed using root, 3rd, and 7th, right? But as long as the root's on the bottom, 7th, 3rd, you can invert the 3rds and 7ths, and it's fine. And you get this nice little outside 10th, right? And you're able to represent the quality of that chord. So in jazz, the minimum number of notes that you need to express the quality of a chord is 3 notes. You need the root, the 3rd, and the 7th. Why? Well, because you can have major or minor 3rds, and you can have major or minor 7ths. What we've discovered is that the 5th is more of a color tone, and that, you know, even if you have the 5th or you don't have the 5th, the quality still remains the same because then it doesn't affect the 3rd or the 7th. So I'm just using the bare minimum. And this is a great texture to know, right? You're going to see this 3rds and 7ths stuff pop up again in the future. So, right hand melody, both hands participate in the accompanimental texture. Now, you could even do this. You know, both hands could play the melody, right? But I just want to remind you that it doesn't have to be left hand playing the accompaniment all the time and right hand playing the melody all the time. Okay, so there's your first phrase, on a Saturday night, you know, something like that. And then it repeats it again. So here the qualities change. I have C7, B7, B flat 7, and A7 here. Again, I'm just using the 3rds and the 7ths. So to make the 7th chord, we need this major 3rd, this flatted 7th, right? You know, C7, you might be accustomed to looking at it like that. But in jazz, you just need a minimum of 3 notes. Right? So those how you can express those dominant chords. Now we get into this next measure. So there's a couple things going on here. You have the melody, right, in my upper fingers that I've decided to do. So I'm doing not only the melody, but I'm doing the harmony with just my right hand alone. I don't even need the left hand. Right? But just to kind of fill out the rhythm, I'll do a walking bass line. Something like that. Right? And to support this, I'm going to use 3rds and 7ths again. Right, and then we can take the first ending and go back to the beginning. Okay, so walking bass line, and let's do repeat back to the beginning. Accompany, and I'm going to change the rhythm. Take the second ending and okay. Okay, so this is the segment where I talk to the community and you have specific questions that I answer, and I have a question from user Uber Davis asks how to solo over bass lines. Well, let me solo over a bass line a little bit and then I'll talk about it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so just I'm goofing around over a walking bass line. And granted, it's taken me years to be able to play that rhythmically free. And that's what I want to focus on, is just the rhythms. Because the left hand, when you're running a bass line, you just want it to be consistent, okay? And I'm going to play up an octave because my microphone keeps getting in the way of my hand. But for general rules of the left hand, you want a bass line that's kind of figured out already. You really don't want to improvise your bass line because you want to focus your improvising on the right hand. So you just want to have something set in stone. So a great like dominant bass line is just this one, just to get warmed up, okay? And the fingering I like to use is 1 4 3 2 1 4 3 2 1, okay? And just keep it nice and steady. And just piano technique wise, you really want to play with high marching fingers. I'm hoping that you can see that. Let me just check in my stream just to make sure that everything's working out. Okay, yeah, you can see my hand, but you really don't want mushy fingers. You kind of want just marching fingers, kind of like a high precision instrument, okay? And just kind of go that way. And fingering rules are any finger is okay, just so long as it doesn't hurt, okay? And that you can use good legato sounds. So work out your left hand bass line, and then you can just, almost think of your right hand like a drummer, right? You have a set collection of notes. Let's say, for example, I'm going to take this C9 grip. Right, and I'm just going to take this collection of notes and I kind of treat my right hand as a percussionist. So can you, in that grip, just play various rhythms? So can you do like that? Short, short, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4 again. Right, just to loosen yourself up, right? And if that's too hard already, well, then you can start with, half notes or whole notes. 3, 4, 1, 2, just simple rhythms, and just see how many different rhythms you can do versus your left hand. Okay, and so when you want to start to get into soloing and you can just take again these 4 notes and you can just play rhythm. Right? And just kind of, see if you can trip yourself up. It's almost like getting over a tongue twister. You just try to find some finger combination that trips you up. I'm having a hard time tripping myself up, in this grip. But, maybe for you who's watching, you can just kind of find, just keep it in a hand position grip and just try to throw some rhythm across a left hand ostinato or just repeating bass figure, and just see if you can trip yourself up rhythmically, okay? The melodies will come, but if the rhythms are there, then you really start to open up and you'll be able to do just basically anything. So, okay, we'll move on to the next question. Okay, so user Shining Toaster asked, how can I do inner voice movement, not just for a chord, but an entire chord progression? And I think it's a great question, and I'm just going to show you just some basics on inner voice movement. So we're going to take a progression, just good old-fashioned 2, 5, 1, right? And if you don't know this progression, you definitely want to commit this one to memory. D minor 9, G13 to C major 9. So you're coming from here, your D minor 9, and you want to get to here, right? And we're going through G7, but rather than do this big skip, D minor, G7, right? We kind of want to use and take advantage of these inner voice movements, right? So again, we're starting here, and everything wants to resolve down, right, to the 1 chord. So that's a general sense. Notes generally, not always, but they want to resolve in a downward way, okay? And so the biggest, probably the most significant resolution is this Do to T motion. And I call it Do to T because we're in the key of C major and Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. So we really want to have this Do, Ti, Ti, La motion. Maybe I'll do it down here so it's more in line with my voice. Do, Ti, Ti, La, to get to your C6-9 chord, okay? So other voices want to move as well. But before I even talk about that, well, let's just say you don't make that Do to T motion. You just keep your right hand the same. And you just keep Do. Well, then you end up getting D minor 7 over G, a slash chord, or you can think about it as G dominant 7 suspended fourth, keeping do in. Do, do, T, right? So people will do that. They'll do 2, and they'll make their 5 sus by refusing to do this do to T motion, okay? So, but that's not really answering your question. So back up here. The roots, the way that they resolve is they're pretty skippy, right? They might go all over the place. So roots, you know, they're the more jumpy of everybody. But the other voices can kind of lead smoothly. So do wants to go to T. La just stays put. La, la, so, resolving down. Now let's do mi. Mi, re. That's your top voice, right? Now, when you start to add alterations, oh, I forgot, the bottom voice, fa, fa, mi, right, just kind of stays put, right? Sometimes they don't even move at all. But let's say we wanted to do some alterations, like we wanted to do a flat 9. La, le, so, right? Maybe you want to have a flat 13. And when you start to really alter everything, and you might even do a tritone substitute, right? And so your bass voice is going to move down by half step. Re, ra, do, right? So that's the typical way that voices want to move. And even it comes out in bebop language, right? You probably heard that lick before. Right? And so that's me, may, re. That's how that resolves. Right? Do, ti, right? Right, that's another really popular lick that they teach in ed. Mario does it. Right? You know, la, ti, la, le, te, le, so. Right? La, le, so. That's the movement that really wants to happen, right? So you're 5, flat 9 to 5, do, ti, ti, la, mi, may, re, and then fa, fa, mi. Okay. Hopefully that answers, okay? But the general sense is that they want to move down. And it doesn't have to be perfect resolution. Like if you're composing music in the style of Haydn, then yeah, your resolutions have to be perfect. But here are so long. So long as they're just moving within a grip and they're close to each other, that's good enough, right? And even if you're composing jazz and you want to have like your 4 horns, you know, connecting smoothly, so long as each individual horn line is melodic, the resolutions don't have to be perfect, right? And Duke Ellington was amazing at that. So hopefully that answers your question. Thanks so much.